as a pacing and leading induction or something like that. The basic idea is this. You want to get them to say yes. Remember the compliance stuff we did at the beginning, the very first of day one? Can you stand over here, please? Can you stand over there? You're trying to get them to say yes to see the quality of the yes that you're getting, right? Plus, if they're saying yes to these things, it creates an avalanche of agreement. So then when you start suggesting things like their hands are stuck and they cannot move, the man's going to go, okay, everything else was true too. Does that make sense? That's a classic example. Let's go with this. That's a classic example of pacing and leading. So you had a pace, right? Can you stand over here? It's a little bit of a lead, but it's an experience that they can refer to. And you're here, and you want to do this, and these things are going on, and that sort of stuff, and so on. And now your hands are stuck, right? What the mind is doing is it's going, yep, 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 yep. The momentum's been built up, right? Over time, you'll need less of these to get one of these. Eventually, all you need is these. Does that make sense? Let me give you an example of the early days of where this came from. Dr. Milton Erickson, great hypnotist, amazing hypnotherapist and psychiatrist. And one of his, if you read his papers, there's huge volumes of them, but one of his favorite approaches to doing stuff is he'll take a very detailed interview, like a personal history, what order were you born in terms of your family relationships and how many brothers and sisters you have and all that sort of stuff. The situation you came with a problem. I mean, he'd take the whole shebang. And then he'd sit there, and I mean, he had the time, he could afford to do this. He'd sit there, and sometimes up to half an hour, an hour, he'd rattle off just a list of facts that they told him. So, your name is John, you live in so-and-so, you have a brother, he's older than you by 2 years, right? And the person going, yes, 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 yes. It's just moving his whole mind out down that one direction. And then, at the end of this whole spiel, he says, now you've come to me for help, and I'm going to help you. What is that? Yes. Right. Can you see like a massive expectation? Now, there's all kinds of stuff he will do at the end of it. Sometimes he'll put some shock in there. I can help you, but it's going to be shocking. And when you hear it, you won't want to hear it. But then you'll think about it, and you'll really have to do it, right? These are all classic suggestions, and he's built them on the back of a yes set. Make sense? Now, the classic pacing and leading induction is normally when people say, okay, you're sitting in this chair, and you're breathing in and out, and you're blinking, so you're going into hypnosis, right? Can you hear the yes, 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 and one little lead? Then over a period of time, you can say, and as you hear the sound of my voice and the air conditioning humming in the background, you can feel even more comfortable as you continue deeper into trance. Fewer of these, more of these, right? So the picture starts slowly becoming more like this. Eventually, it's like this. And then just eventually it'll be, right? And you can keep cycling back to things they'll agree to, especially if you're not too sure of how they'll respond, then you'll do a couple of safety hedges and so on. There's only one problem with this induction as far as conversation hypnosis is concerned. Any guesses what that might be? Too long is part of it, but it's pretty obvious. You're sitting in a chair. You're listening to me, right? We're going back to the autistic induction from before, right? Not many conversations go this way. However, hopefully you'll have discovered by now that with some of the attentional language, you can navigate through all kinds of experiences that people can have and must agree to. I mean, consider the fact that you've been in here for at least 2 days, right? And in those 2 days, you've had many different experiences. Some of them you've understood instantly. Some of them took a while in developing an understanding. Some of them you might even be a little clueless about. Perhaps you don't quite know yet what that's all about. Yet the interesting thing is, you're still here and you're continuing to want to learn more. Now, it's not always been easy, but you've persevered enough to be here today at the end of the second day. Which means it's going to get easier as time goes by because all the pieces are going to start to come together. Right now, you're still collecting the pieces. the more those pieces come together, the easier it'll start to be for you. Now, I know you've had experiences of learning something in the past. Some of those things were absolutely easy. Not because the subject matter was easy, but because your interest was high. You enjoyed it. You wanted to learn. And you learned, did you not? So learning is easy when you want it. And I believe that you really want to learn hypnosis. Maybe enough to make it easier than you thought it would be. So as time goes by, you begin to find yourself doing hypnotic things and not even realizing until afterwards just how good it was. Let's face it. You all have a lifetime of experiences. You can remember them, especially the enjoyable ones, and know that more enjoyable things will come. And everyone knows that the difficult times are merely lessons waiting to be discovered. So that whether you're having lessons being discovered right now, or some part of your mind is going to the past to relieve you of the burden of whatever happened back then, a lesson can be learned that makes your life easier, doesn't it? Now, you don't need to know what that is yet. After all, you have an unconscious mind, do you not? And it's kept you safely protected from so many things. Some of those things you really didn't need to think about, and you still don't, until your unconscious mind has taken those memories of difficult times and learned something. Learned enough that you can let it go and just feel good. Good enough to learn more. Make life easier. One of the greatest lessons that you can learn is that you have an unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind is great. It's protected you all these years. Those accidents that could have been so serious, but you survived. It healed you when you were sick or injured. Protected you when you didn't know what to do. And when you didn't have the skills to cope with something, it made sure that you acquired them as time went by. And it's continuing to do so right now, this moment. You've all come here to learn something. And yet, you never thought about why you were driven to learn hypnosis of all things. Yet your unconscious knows. An opportunity is here to grow as a person. And when you grow as a person, you connect more fully inside yourself, becoming more real as a person. A human being, the way we're supposed to be. Confident, calm and strong, vibrant and charismatic. And above all else, we have the capacity to learn so much. Nothing else comes close to the human capacity for learning. You've had a lifetime of lessons that you've learned. Some of them you didn't like to learn, and yet you learned them regardless. And others you were thrilled to learn. The more you learn and grow, the safer life becomes. Because you have the capacity to take any situation and master it. Now. Things are happening inside, aren't they? Perhaps your thoughts have slowed down. Calmer inside. Maybe you even have a good feeling. That's right. And it's good to have that good feeling. A sign from your unconscious mind that something good is happening. And you can feel that, can you not? And because something good is happening, I'm sure you'll realize just how easy it is to trust your unconscious. Make positive, healthy changes. Grow as a person. And learn. Think about it. You can't not learn. Even if you think you're not learning, you're learning something. You're discovering something. And there are many ways to do this. And memory is a funny thing. Did you know that memory changes? Recalling an event from the past now is different to when it happened. And many people have found the joy of discovering the problems from the past change each time they recollect them, because you change. And so your relationship to the past changes. Now, I wonder how much better you can feel as you contemplate only enough of your past to feel good. How much better can you feel right now to change the past by recollecting some of it with that quiet, calm, good feeling inside? And all the time, things continue to occur outside of your awareness. Isn't it nice to know that you get to enjoy it like a comfortable nap, a daydream, a night dream, a dream in which a new personality emerges? That person you've always known you could be. You might not be aware that babies sleep more than they're awake. Young children sleep less than babies, but more than adults. In that special state, they get to dream themselves into being, making important connections in the brain, their minds. It happens automatically. each night when you dream. I wonder how often you'll dream something that helps you grow and change, makes you feel better, more capable. It's happened before. You are no longer the same person you were when you were 5 years old, or 2 years old, 10 years old, 20, or any age. You've changed. And you don't know how most of those changes occurred. It's a good thing, because those changes can continue to occur outside of your awareness. And all you need to notice is how good it is, how positive, how much better you feel, and how much more of your past is different now. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So I have an idea that you can talk about more experiences than just about their toes wiggling in their shoes or the seat of their pants touching against their skin. Not that these things are invalid. And in certain settings, like in the hypnotherapy clinic, they're absolutely valid, aren't they? You can do it quite easily, and it's a great induction to use. But we're here to use conversation hypnosis, aren't we? Who here could imagine themselves having a pep talk with someone they care about, in ways that are not dissimilar to what you've just experienced? Will that be too out there in terms of a normal conversation? It would require the right context. You won't necessarily walk up to a stranger and do this, would you? But given the right context, the right setting, the right relationship, which is, after all, what we spend so much time developing so far, would this not be an absolutely appropriate conversation to have with someone? Right? Is this making sense in a very different way to you right now? Now, I know you have some questions. And some of you might even want to ask them in public. So the only question I have is, do you want to ask the question first, then do an exercise? Or would you rather just dive in whilst it's all fresh in your experience and do it and save all the questions till afterwards? That's what I thought. So find a different partner, maintain the state you have right now, because that will help you do this. And then just see where it takes you. Remember, all you're doing is getting some absolute yeses and adding some suggestions to the end. And I'm not going to give you any more guidance on that, because you know much more than I do about how you need to speak to people about this, don't you? Off you go.